Okay, we are back with some quick math. We are doing some factorization. This is grade 9 level. This is what you'll see at grade 9. And we generally do this after highest common factors because it is still part of highest common factors, okay? So the three that we are going to do is the three that you see now. I'm going to do these three because they are the three variations that you might see in this question, okay? So the first one that I want you to see is that these brackets are the same. The second one that I want you to see is that the brackets are, well, the terms in the brackets are in a different order. The n is first there, and then the n is last here, the 2 is second, and the 2 is first here. Okay, so that's the difference. And then in the last one as well, the terms are swapped, but notice the difference in number 2 and number 3. Okay, in number 2, as much as the terms are swapped, the signs are still the same. Okay, so the n is positive and the 2 is positive. So here the 2 is positive, the n is positive. So basically the brackets are the same thing, because we know that we can swap it around. We can write n plus 2 or 2 plus n, and it's going to be the same thing because the signs are the same. With number 3, it's different. The 1 is positive, the 1 is negative there. The b is negative, the b is positive over here. So number 3 is slightly different. Okay, so let's do the first one first, and then we'll get to the second one and the third one as well. I think we'll do all three in one video. So the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to replace this bracket. So this whole bracket thing that I see here, I'm going to go and call it k. All right, so from now on, he is k. K is equal to x plus 1. Now, if you are going to do this method, which we call the k method, make sure that somewhere you tell me what k is. You can't just go call this thing k without having told me what k is going to be. Okay, so now if this whole bracket is k, if this bracket is k, what I have now is my new question is ak minus 2k. Right? So when it looks like that, maybe it's a bit easier to identify that k is my common factor. So I'm going to take out a common factor, okay? Maybe I must just mention this as well. When you take out a common factor, you are dividing each term with that factor. That is something you should know. So k is the common factor. The common factor gets written there. We open a bracket. Now, this is what happens in our minds. I'm going to write it and I'm going to erase it. We say ak, which is the term, we divide it with a k. Then it's minus 2k divided by k, right? And now our answer is going to be k, open bracket. The k's cancel, so you're left with only the a. Over here, the k's cancel, you're left with the minus 2. Now, generally, we go from this step straight to that step. We skip that middle step. The step over here generally gets skipped. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. It's just very important that you understand. If you are taking out a common factor, you are dividing each term with that factor. Okay, so from now on, we're not going to show that middle step anymore, but I need you to know that it exists and that is there. Okay. Right, now just remember, we didn't actually have k. K we introduced into the question. K is actually this thing over here. So now we have to go and replace it again. So the answer is x plus 1 and a minus 2. So that's our answer over there. We use something called the k method so that we could identify the factor. If you look back at the question over here, and you can identify that whole bracket is your common factor, you don't have to go and use k, right? We only used k so that it was easier to identify that the whole bracket is my common factor. Okay, let's go look at number 2. So number 2, same thing, right? So we see that the bracket is the same. We've mentioned already that 2 plus n or n plus 2 is going to be the same thing, right? Let's look at numbers. Let's put some numbers there. Let's go with 1 plus 2 is going to give me 3. And if I say 2 plus 1, it's still going to give me 3. So I swapped the order, but it stayed the same. The reason it stayed the same when I swapped the order is because I didn't change the signs. The 1 was positive, the 1 is positive. The 2 is positive, the 2 is positive. So swapping the order didn't change anything, okay? So what's the point? N plus 2, 2 plus n is the same thing, all right? So if you want to go use the k method, we can do that again. So let's say k is equal to n plus 2. That means this one and this one is both k. All right. So what do we actually have? We have yk plus 5k. Right. So the k is our common factor. K gets taken out. So this first term is divided by k. You are left with a y. The second term is divided by k. You left with a plus 5. K wasn't in our original question. We introduced it, so now we need to go replace it again. And that is n plus 2 and y plus 5, right? The third variation of the question is going to look something like this, okay? Now, when I look inside my brackets, this one over here is 1 minus b, and this one is b minus 1. Let's go put numbers there, the same way that we did with the previous one, and let's see if it works. So let's go with 1 minus 2, and that's going to give us a minus 1. And if I say 2 minus 1, that's going to give me a positive 1. So I changed the order, right? But I actually changed the order wrong, because this in fact is a minus 2, this is not a minus 2, so I didn't actually change the order. This one and this one is two different things. Okay, so what I'm saying is this: if I actually want to change the order, then I need to move the minus 2. So minus 2, and this 1 over here is positive, so this is a plus 1 equals a minus 1. Now they're the same thing. Now I've changed the order. Okay, remember this: the sign in front of the number goes with the number. So that minus belongs to the 2, right? The invisible plus here belongs to the 1, right? So let's get rid of all of this. So if I look at my brackets, I'm going to write the same thing quickly. Here's x, 1 minus b, minus 2. Now I want this to be in the same order, so I'm going to swap the order. I'm going to put the 1 first, but it's a minus 1, and I'm putting my b second, and my okay. So now the order is the same as that order, but all of the signs are wrong. Okay, the 1 is positive here, my 1 is negative. The b is negative, my b is positive. All of my signs are wrong, so I need to do something that is going to change all of my signs. And this is what I'm going to do to change my signs. So I'm going to take this thing out here quickly. So I've got a minus 1 plus b. I need to change all of the signs. Now, what is a factor of all numbers? 1 is a factor of all numbers, so I can always take 1 out. Okay, similarly, I can always take out minus 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out minus 1 as a common factor. Now look what happens when I do that. So my minus 1 is my common factor. I open a bracket. So how do we take out common factors again? We divide each term with that factor. So it's going to be minus 1. This one over here is the one that I've written there, okay? And I'm going to divide this with the minus 1. This is the common factor that I'm dividing with. Plus this b that I've got over here. I'm going to write that again. So it's going to be this b divided by, and the minus 1 common factor, I'm dividing that there. Okay, what did I just write? That middle step that we normally ignore, right? So all of my terms, I divided with the common factor. That's what you're doing when you take out the common factor. You are dividing each term with that factor. Okay, so the common factor is minus 1, and that gets written in front of the bracket. If minus 1 is divided by minus 1, minus 1 divided by minus 1, that produces a positive 1. If b is divided by minus 1, it produces a minus b. So when I took 1 out as a common factor, what did it do? So I have a positive 1 now and a minus b. That fixed my signs. Now my signs are going to be different. So how can I change all the signs? By taking out a negative as a common factor. Right, so now let's see how this goes. So here I'm still writing my x, 1 minus b. I'm not changing that. Out of the second bracket here, the second term rather, the negative is going to come out, like we see at the bottom here. And when the negative comes out, it multiplies with the thing that's in front. So that minus 1 that I'm taking out is going to multiply with that minus 2 that you see there, and it's going to change. Minus 1 times minus 2 is going to become a positive 2. Because that negative came out, the signs inside my bracket change. So this is going to be a positive 1 and a minus b. So now what can I see? I can see my brackets are the same. I can go ahead and use the K method. Okay. We don't, okay, maybe we still, let's rather just use the K method to be comfortable, right? So we're going to say this bracket, which is 1 minus b is equal to K. Right? I need the space, so I'm going to, let's just move this rather, instead of delete it, let's move it down. All right, so now I'm going to say that xk plus 2k. All right, now that's easy enough. K is my common factor. So I've got my x plus my 2. What was k? K was actually 1 minus b, x plus 2. and we've factorized that. Right? Easy enough. Important things to note, okay? If you want to change the signs, you take out the minus as a common factor. That's the one. Another important thing to note, if you take out the common factor, you are dividing each term with the common factor, okay? In all three of these examples, you should have noticed that the entire bracket becomes your common factor. So you can go and use the K method if you want. If you don't need it, that's also perfectly fine. All right, good luck.